we all here? It's a little bit of a summer crowd, I guess. And we've got some folks online, so welcome everybody online. John said, sorry he couldn't be here today, but he's wanted to say hello and to let everybody know that John and I are wrapping up after this meeting. And we have Victor and Ian, I believe, stepping in. Yeah. So that'll be really good. And they're gonna jump in and get the next meetings and everything going.
Big applause for John and Cindy.
Yeah. Yes, it's been a whole team effort. Bob's been on board 100%. You've been like supporting so much. And there's a whole bunch of other people on the board that have been also doing things. So really it's been a team effort. Yeah.
You did an amazing job.
Yay, including fabulous Claudia here. Yes. So, all right. I don't have John's cool slide deck because at the last minute, I switched computers here. We're just a picture of flexibility. But I think you all know that you can see everything, all the replays on our YouTube channel. And then you can always see the latest events on the Cinti website. And I have it set up to, when you go to the Sacramento site, if you just do pound events, it always gets you to the next event. So there you go. And we're on break for a little bit for the summer. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So I want to introduce Claudia. So I was on this panel in January about DMF. Dom, I talked to you about it right before I went. And I got to meet Claudia Souza from ASG, a systems integrator. And she's also been at Grass Valley and all kinds of, has a lot of experience, a decade at Sony. And instead of Claudia, me reading all about you, tell me what you were telling me this afternoon about when you left Grass Valley.
Yes.
Tell me that whole journey. That was so good. That's the better introduction than what I can do. Go for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So I was lucky enough in my career to get to be a part of the team within Grass Valley that developed their AMP platform. So that's where all of the love came in for me and the passion that you'll hear about the idea of very scalable, flexible, agile facilities and building these facilities that can change as they need. So the DMF and MXL are close to my heart based on that history. But when I left Grass Valley, I was trying to decide, do I go back to another manufacturer? Do I go back to reseller SI world, which I hadn't been in quite a long time? And what drove my decision was this love of being able to help customers create a facility by bringing together best in breed products and leveraging innovative technologies and building it into a facility. Something that when you work at a manufacturer, no matter how wonderful any of them are, and I've been at some of the best, you still are representing that company's products. So what was cool about coming to a system integrator is I really could take anyone's products, best in breed, and if we're building some of these dynamic software-defined kinds of facilities, the neat thing is a lot of them are consumption-based, SaaS-based products. So as different companies leapfrog each other, develop new things, you're always able to iterate. Things aren't fixed. And so we can move and change with the customer. So it's neat because it's not build something, walk away, see you in 5 years when you're ready for the next thing. It's let's go on this journey every day, every week, every month. And as things keep coming out, as you'll see so many companies coming out with new things for MXL, we can just keep incorporating it into the workflow. So it kind of keeps things fun and exciting for me as well. So
that's great. I'm just going to say over to you and let's get into DMF, Dynamic Media Facility. We do have some guests on the call, including Willem. I'm going to call you out, Willem Vermoos from EBU. And we've got lots of people who can pitch in, although Claudia, you know all about it. So over to you.
Oh no, I've already told Willem, hard questions go to him. So this is sharing what I've learned and what I've learned from wonderful colleagues, really knowledgeable, a lot of them in these manufacturers that have been part of this initiative. I want to call out one in specific right now, which is I was super slammed, hadn't gotten a chance to put a presentation together, and I reached out to Jonathan Leith from Grass Valley as I've seen his presentation on this. And I asked him if he'd be willing to share slides so I wouldn't have to start from scratch. So a huge thank you to Jonathan, or I wouldn't be able to be doing this right now with you guys. So on that, let's move to the first part of this, which is, what is a dynamic media facility? Where did it come from? How did it get started? Why does it matter to you? So we'll give you a tiny bit of background. So starting back in about 2022, DMF has evolved from a conversation inside several broadcasters such as CBC in Canada and BBC, where they wanted to bring all of the manufacturers together and have an open discussion about future generations of their facilities and how they wanted things to be. But there was a need to steer this, and it led to being adopted by the EBU as an initiative, the DMF initiative that is driven by the EBU in how do we create these dynamic media facilities. So the key points of what makes something a dynamic media facility: it's software-defined architecture, it's replacing that fixed hardware, world that we've all grown up in for the past 60 years, and it changes it into a containerized media functions. There are elastic resource allocations for compute, storage, networking, and it works across on-prem or in cloud, really giving them that flexibility and agility. Most importantly, it's truly vendor agnostic. We've been saying vendor agnostic forever, best in breed forever. But when you had bespoke pieces of hardware by different vendors that communicated with each other through a lot of effort, a lot of different testing, and a lot of different encoding and decoding, I can't say that it truly allowed for the vendor agnostic design approach that the dynamic media facility allows. It allows for those designs that are interoperable and are multi-vendor. This all aligns with the EBU MARS initiative, which is multi-layered, anywhere, resilient, and sustainable. Now, part of moving this forward in our industry is where Cindy comes in. AMWA and EBU had to come up with an amazing group, which is a joint task force for the dynamic media facility, and it plays a huge role in helping all of us, because this is going to take all of us working together, not just the manufacturers, to move this new initiative forward. So I want to hand it to you, Cindy, because you know the JTDMF and AMWA's role much better than me. So how about you talk a little bit about that?
I will do. I don't have the camera quite right, so I'm just gonna, be here like this. Maybe I can bring it up a little bit. So what Claudia is talking about, of course, is people really want to be able to provision their facility, make it into whatever they need that day, a news facility, a sports facility, whatever that functionality is, and then release those resources, those assets back so they can be provisioned and used for something else later in the future, tomorrow, whatever it is. And so that whole idea that the resources can be provisioned and then released and set up a financial framework that makes that happen, that's sort of the why behind DMF. And then, as you mentioned, Claudia, the pieces about how to make it really work. So the EBU and AMWA, so European Broadcast Union and Advanced Media Workflow Association, I get to work with them. So I get to work with some really cool companies in the industry. And with my AMWA hat on, they came together with EBU at a meeting last year and decided, hey, let's put a joint task force together to actually help make dynamic media facility a reality. And it's a really unique blend of end user customers, integrators, and of course, manufacturer vendors all collaborating together and working on everything. So we talk about DMF, and then it's like, well, what's the JTDMF? What is that? Well, that's the joint task force that's actually working together and meeting regularly. So this morning I was on a meeting that was actually the business track of the JTDMF. And so on there, we see people from Canal Plus, Grass Valley, ABC, Paramount, just all on there working, different vendors. So there's like 20, 30 people on there working, coming up with user stories, what the problems are, how to solve them. And there's four tracks. So the business track is one of them. There's also the compute resources, the end-to-end synchronization, and the flow connection. And those people are working regularly on those all the time.
And I'll chime in on one thing. I love that you created and that AMWA and EBU and the JTDMF created a business track because we have tons of incredibly dedicated and knowledgeable engineers creating all of the technology that will enable this. But we can't forget that none of this works if the business aspects of all these different vendors and how we go to market with all this doesn't work. So that's near and dear to my heart, is how to make the business side of all this work so that it matters for everybody who wants to use it, and it's a cost saving and it's beneficial.
Claudia, you got to tell the group about your phone call today.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was super cool. So today I was on a call with a customer that Advanced Systems Group, ASG, is helping build a greenfield facility. And as we're chatting through what they wanted and just going through the regular engagement to really understand their requirements and their thoughts around it, one of the people said, well, basically, we're trying to create a dynamic media facility. So I just thought that was really cool considering what we'd be doing here tonight. So customers are now already understanding the power of it. Maybe not all the details, maybe not all of what it's going to take for the true dynamic media facility, but the concept is out there and customers are embracing it and loving it. So I thought that was pretty neat.
All right, over to you.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about a part of it that I think is pretty cool. As you can see from this report that was from the EBU website, the DMF project has moved incredibly rapidly, and the MXL project is seeing rapid progress as well. To highlight this, if you look at this, you will see that we went from setup to an IBC multi-vendor interop in just 6 months. And if any of you have ever worked at a manufacturer, you know it takes years to go through development cycles, but not with MXL. MXL is empowering because it's open source, because it's a collaborative open source SDK. The rapid movement that we're able to see is really something I've never seen in all my years in the industry. I really like the slide because this slide from the EBU helps us understand what do we mean by a dynamic media facility? What's all involved? Is MXL the same thing? Is it something different? Does it replace 2110? There's so many questions out there. And I think this slide does a fantastic job in taking that concept and really having a conceptual drawing that it captures the entire idea behind what is a DMF. At the highest level, DMF is split into layers shown here. So one of the key parts of DMF is allowing it to work on COTS hardware. So while these upper layers focus on the media vendors, so those are all the manufacturers in our industry and what we create, what's really cool are the leveraging of these lower layers. These layers leverage general technology that has been used in IT, cloud, hyperscalers, data centers. And what's neat is we don't have to spend all this time and money and effort recreating what other industries have spent billions of dollars and tons of R&D to optimize and create. We can build on top of that and leverage all of that so that we can focus the manufacturers in our industry on the media exchange layer, the media functions, the actual applications and UIs that our customers use within their facilities. So I do want to talk a little bit about the history and the evolution of live production in our industry. So most of us have started with dedicated hardware. You go to a manufacturer, you buy their switcher, it is a dedicated piece of hardware, and it does that one function. And then you take the same thing from many, many different companies, and you just load up racks and racks of gears. From that, we move to software and dedicated servers. So I'll talk more about why each of these are important. The next evolution of that is where a lot of companies are either at or trying to get to right now, which is virtualized software. It's decoupling the software from the hardware and virtualizing the software. Beyond that, we get to really leveraging the containerized software, public cloud, and hardware accelerated cloud, which is still in the process and an aim for our industry, but it's where we are moving to. I'll start with the first part. So this is kind of that initial step. We took all of that hardware that we were talking about, go into any CER at any facility, and you will see rows and rows of racks with dedicated hardware that traditionally is purchased from each individual vendor as proprietary hardware dedicated to their, one task. What they've been trying to do over the years now is a lot of the vendors are now using COTS servers to basically put their software in. There's some benefits of that for sure. But at the same time, we still suffer from some of the same problems. We still have racks and racks of gears. We still have each server for one application, and it leads to underutilized resources, latency overhead, cost overruns from having to have such individualized gear. And with today's modern servers, they're capable of far more than this. So that's where manufacturers started thinking about, well, what if we could do shared COTS? And this is that decoupled software and hardware. And it's where you see vendors saying, I've got cloud products, software defined products. You can run it on VMs. You can run it in AWS, in cloud, public cloud. You can run it on-prem on one server that has many different vendors, products within a VM. The challenge here is that even though it's a major step towards flexibility and agility and scalability, it doesn't solve the inherent issue that you're still having to move files between different vendors' applications in a really inefficient manner. I mean, we're burning CPU cycles and GPU encode, decode resources just tying applications together. So this group got together of all these different companies and said, how can we do it better? Now, interestingly enough, many of them were already using a precursor to MXL within their own technology. So within their COTS server, that was that next step, they were already using some of the basic foundations of frame cache and RDMA once you're going to, the different servers, but only within their own individual operations for their software. Here's where it got interesting. They decided to create what's called the Media Exchange Layer, or MXL, which I know you're hearing a lot about. And what is it? Well, at its core, it's an enabler for DMF. It provides that data layer for the media exchange between software-based functions. It's optimized for performance, designed to minimize latency and maximize efficiency in these dynamic workflows. It supports future scalability because it works locally and across nodes as we continue to develop it for distributed production environments. What's the best part of this for me is because it was decided that it was going to be created as an open source SDK, it encourages all the different manufacturers to develop for it because they're not developing to somebody else's proprietary codecs or proprietary information, and it keeps everything on an even platform. And that's why you see such incredibly fast collaboration that hasn't been done before. So the strategic interoperability role integrates with NMOS and orchestration frameworks for seamless workflows. Where it fits in on that EBU slide is right here. It's that media exchange layer that goes between the servers and the media functions. Truly, it's inside of it, but in this drawing, it's between, because it's what enables each of these media functions you see here to all exchange data without having to repackage and encode and decode and send files out and get files in and copy files. So it's much, much more efficient. It's important to really delineate though, because this is not cloud to ground and ground to cloud technology. This is not an SRT replacement. What this is technology that can be used on-prem, RDMA, Rocky 2, or in cloud, AWS, EFA, within servers, or very soon, between servers. So when I say within servers or between servers, let me elaborate a little bit on that. So Intranode, which is the first generation of MXL, is within a server. So within a server, you can now have many different applications where they're sharing via 10-bit uncompressed video, and they're sharing what they're doing is they're doing sharing of the memory bus of multiple applications from different vendors that share the same server, exchanging uncompressed video with each other with extreme low latency, because they don't have to go out and back in. So before, when we put multiple vendors even on the same VM or the same server, they still had to go out of one application into the other. This one gives access to every application to that shared memory bus. So application 5 can go in and go to the application, go to the file that memory that application 3 is using. So I think that is just a really huge change in our industry. Now, what's going to be, I think, a much bigger change is as we move into internode. Why? Because internode allows expansion. You can only put so many applications intranode into one node. As we know, as we build some of these COT systems, you need intranode. You need many different servers or many different nodes. So the next generation is the killer one. This is what is going to allow us to expand and scale. It leverages the technologies such as RDMA and RoCE and EFA, but it allows you to do it between different nodes. Now, let's talk about what that means and why does it matter. What it really means and why it matters is finally the promise that we've been talking about becomes a reality. You're going to be able to take those 10 racks and all of those either COTS devices or dedicated hardware devices. And because of being able to put multiple applications from different vendors on the same server or different servers that easily connect and talk to each other, we're going to be able to bring down and scale down the size of your CERs. And as you know, that is efficient in the file sharing and how the file is moving per se. But more than that, it's a reduction in space, a reduction in power, AC, facility size, complexity, also complexity, because what I've spent years doing with my team is interoperability. It's taking all these different pieces of software and figuring out how to make things go from one to the other, because no one vendor had been able to give a complete facility. And the biggest challenge in building facilities is interoperability. So MXL is going to take us so much further in making that interoperability so much easier. I am really grateful for the openness and collaboration that I see happening in our industry between these vendors and more by now. So with this methodology, this openness and this collaboration, I think we're finally going to be able to move into the true promise of that dynamic media facility, as Cindy was saying, where you can spin things up, spin them down as you need. You can change what you're using. One day you're using that same bank of nodes for one application, the next day for something else. You're not wasting money because everything can be used and reused as you need. Because you know what? We're all being asked to do so much more with so much less. Monetization has gone down. We don't know what we're going to be asked for by our customers, by our internal customers, external customers. So having that flexibility in the kind of dynamic media facility we can put together is going to make a huge, huge difference in cost savings and monetization for our customers and for all of you that need to do this. One thing I'm going to do is a real final pitch to please, if you can, if you haven't, join AMWA's JTDMF, because this is an effort that is going to take collaboration by all of us, which is part of what I think is cool, that they opened it up not just to manufacturers, but to manufacturers, to customers, to system integrators. We all play a role in this, and it really is going to take all of us working together, each of us bringing our unique view on what's needed and what we expect out of it and giving ideas to it. And I think we can get there much more quickly than I thought 7 or 8 years ago when I started, working with, oh no, 10 years ago, my goodness, when I started working with GV and the team that was creating AMP. I think this is really, really going to accelerate the entire industry forward. So that was the presentation that I had with you. Here are some links. Here is a QR code for getting more information on EBU, on JTDMF, and the links that you can go to it. And of course, always feel free to reach out if you have any questions, desires to discuss this in a deeper level. I'm by no means an expert, just someone who is passionate about seeing this initiative move forward. And that's it, Cindy.
That's nice. Yeah. If you go back to the slide there, the EDU's reference
Yes.
architecture document, it was updated in April. So you can pick up the latest version and some of the diagrams that Claudia used, I think one or two of them are in there, plus some other updated information. There's resources there.
Yeah.
And
Hamlin's website?
It's this one's on the EDU website, though there is a link to it on the AMWA website as well.
And there's the AMWA website right there.
And so amwa.tv/JTDMF there's also a link to that same reference architecture, or the link down below the dynamic media facility page also has links to that reference architecture as well. And like Claudia said, DMF, it's not, it's not a vendor initiative. It's not an initiative of a particular broadcaster. It's all these people collaborating together to move it forward. So I love your take on it, Claudia. And yeah, there's a lot of what's in it for me. Go with it. Go for it.
There's just a couple takeaways here from DMF and MXL, because there's a lot of questions always about what's DMF, what's MXL, how do they play together? So here's some basic takeaways from what the two are. I think the biggest thing to take away is that the MXL is an enabler for DMF. DMF is the wonderful concept, and MXL is an enabler to ensure that we can reach all of the great aspirations of DMF.
Yeah, Willem and I were talking about how DMF might be considered the burger or the taco, and that MXL is the lettuce that's in there. And so DMF is really the vision, and MXL is a piece of it that makes it all happen.
I've heard such great, whether it's Mike Cronk with TVU, or whether it's Ian or Adam or John Lyth, anybody from GV. I've heard many different interesting ways of trying to convey that concept. I think Ian Fletcher uses a house and the plumbing, that DMF is the house and MXL is the plumbing. Mike Bronx uses a little bit different of a house and being able to have, access to a room in that house, and anybody can access that room and access what's in that room. But I think the concept is getting more widely understood, that we needed a way to make DMF to make a dynamic media facility a reality. There's still a lot more steps to be done. Please don't think it starts and ends with MXL. MXL is just one piece of that puzzle, a very important piece of the puzzle. And once all of the manufacturers have released their products to work as MXL products, that's going to be a huge step forward. But there's still a lot to go. I don't know, Willem, if you wanted to remain anonymous or want to speak a little bit about where we go after DMF. The MXL is there to assist in DMF becoming a reality. There's still a lot to go. I don't know if you want to touch on what that is.
I'm texting with Willem right here, and it is 4 a.m. for him. So
oh shoot, I'm sorry. Okay.
We leave him off the hook unless he randomly jumps in here. It's 4 or 5.
No stress. There's maybe something that we didn't touch upon, and that's a question that was asked during NAB and other panels. It's like, what about 2110? Is 2110 dead? Is MXL replacing it? Well, actually, no. 2110, you could look at it, this is specifically built to be transport efficient, moving perfect video over a cable. And MXL, the intention is to be compute efficient. So once you're in a compute cluster, that we can actually use the speed of a computer available to us instead of packing and unpacking the serialized stream that 2110 is, just touching the memory and go with it. So that's a little bit the difference. So will 2110 go away? No, it will still be there. You need to move, of course, your video and your audio from the camera or the microphone towards the cluster.
That is a great point. That is definitely something I've heard very often, that confusion that this will replace 2110. And no, it definitely won't. Are there any other questions from anyone?
Everyone has a question.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Go for it.
How,
Sorry. Yes.
oh, I'm a student. I'm graduating next year. And I was curious, I don't know if you could speak to this directly, but how could I get involved in something like DMF and MXL? This seems really interesting to me.
I think the easiest way, and I'll let Cindy speak to it, but the easiest way is if you join the JTDMF, correct, Cindy? I don't think you have any specific.
Yeah, the JTDMF is for AMWA and EBU members. So most of the manufacturer folks in the room, their companies are members already. The single person price is under $200 to join. It's
Is there a
supportable.
A student?
There hasn't been, but
Hang on, Brad.
yeah, it could be. Could be. So at this point, I think it's 185 or something. I could help you with that if you want. And then you could just start joining the meetings there once a week for most of the tracks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I'd highly recommend that, being in these meetings, even if times where I haven't been able to contribute, there is so much to learn. Just listening to what all these different experts are talking about, how they're discussing how this is going to evolve, you will, be far ahead of your peers in understanding this new technology that I think is going to be key to our industry and you're going to see everywhere.
Yeah, that's really my number one goal, is to just learn about as many different things as possible. And this seems like a really interesting topic. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
How are computer security and IP protection issues dealt with all the RDMA going on in that proposed architecture?
I can jump in. You can jump in.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are cross-cutting concerns that are being addressed, in particular security, among the 4 working groups right now. And so the pieces that I know about that is security is a huge cross-cutting concern, and there are people on the JTDMF governance managing that and making sure it's addressed. There's someone at the EBU. I don't want to bug Will because it's 5 in the morning, but there is another person there that's we're using as a resource and it's being addressed, but I could definitely put you in touch with people on that topic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just started a separate group that is going to look in those security concerns. And the idea is to do a threat modeling for the whole concept of DMF, meaning on every layer, whether it's the RDMA or the lib fabric part, what are the potential threats if you would run this in your facility, and then go up the stack, what are the potential threats by just doing memory sharing and so on. So just a small example, the MXL work and the memory sharing, this is actually just as if it's a shared drive. It's just a drive in memory. So this is a cool concept that we can reuse from Linux. And if you have a memory drive, you can share the drive just by using and granting access with the rights available in the operating system. So that's been taken care on the MXL layer, doing it this way. And on every layer, we'll look at the specific things that could go wrong and how to solve it. if that makes sense.
Don, did you?
Yeah, I work for an equipment manufacturer and we make products in multiple form factors. Some of them are PCIe cards that'll go into a server just fine. But we also make standalone devices, rack mount devices, open gear cards. From what I saw in the presentation, it sounds like the things that are not inside of a server aren't really suited to participate in this ecosystem. Do I have that right? If we have an appliance that's a standalone device, do we need to, or an OG card, do we need to make a PCIe version of that plugs into a server and can be software controlled, and the software is in a container and all that kind of stuff to work in this world? Or is there some way to add the open source SDK to our standalone devices, which generally run Linux, and have them participate somehow? I don't know if it even makes sense.
I think the idea is you're virtualizing that function in the software that runs on this computer.
I mean, first I'll say, this is not like overnight, the world is going to be 100% MXL, and if you're not there, your systems won't be used. There will be a hybrid approach of using MXL tools, and some of the facility won't be MXL. That's just the reality. Nothing changes overnight, and not every manufacturer will change at the same pace. That being said, there are, if you go to GitHub, you can download the SDK for MXL, and you'll find all the instructions there on what's necessary to make it be an MXL product. And only the products that adhere to those guidelines are going to be part of the actual MXL products within a facility.
Are you, Claudia, having people ask about hybrid, or how are you dealing with that in some of your systems upgrades? And
Nope, we don't have MXL products released. I mean, it is just at the earliest phase.
okay.
So it hasn't become an issue. I can only correlate it to as I started doing software-defined and cloud products. And did I have facilities needing traditional on-prem hardware products and interoperate them with the software-defined and cloud products? Every hour of every day in every way. It is very infrequent that I've had a customer that I can say is 100% cloud software defined microservices and nothing else. Why? Because also, a lot of the manufacturers don't have all their products, ported over. And also there's legacy equipment in facilities. So our industry does not change on a dime like that. So hybrid is going to be part of the discussion as far as if you're building an entire facility. I don't think most customers can afford to start from scratch and build an entire dynamic media facility. And if they did, like my customer just mentioned, there aren't products available today to do that. That's still in the development, hopefully in a very short amount of years and not a very long and many years. But we all have to wait and see as it's in the hands of all the manufacturers participating. Anything else?
Oh, yeah, with your familiarity of AMP, is AMP MXL compliant?
Yes,
It is already.
it is. So AMP was using kind of a precursor, and I'm not going to butcher it because I no longer work there, so I won't go too deeply, but it was using already frame cache and a precursor to the technologies and the ideas that created the MXL. So they decided to go ahead and become MXL native. So they did the bit of work that they had to do in their software to make it truly MXL. So again, that is within the AMP ecosystem. And as other manufacturers start creating MXL products, then they'll be able to work together. There was a really great demonstration already of MXL technology working. And I do have a slide I can put up because I don't think I actually used that slide. So bear with me, but it was really neat. It was the slide from the NAB interoperability. There it is, or the IBC. Well, no, this one was the NAB. So let's share again. And I'm just going to share it. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll share it either way. I'll share it as is or here from this slide. It's thinking, and there it is. So already at NAB, we saw a demonstration of Valley, Matrox, Riedel, TAG, TechX, Nevion, Appear, FFmpeg, ROS, everybody working in an MXL interoperable environment. Now, do these companies all have products ready to commercialize, release commercially? No, but they're all are proving that they are already capable of working within MXL. Now it's productizing their offerings within that. It just so happens that since GV had AMP, and AMP was based in a lot of that concept of the frame cache and frame, memory share, it was easy for them to already switch their products to that. But I believe their first the first thing that they showed that is MXL, let me see if I can get to it here because my cursor wants to, there we go, was this NAB 26 Zoom demo. So that was the first MXL true demo, which is using Zoom ISO via MXL with the MXL frame cache for the AMP Live or Event Producer, which is their kind of packaged solution within AMP, and then going back out to Zoom ISO. But I think that's the first product that I've seen truly MXL native on both parts, grasses and Zoom ISOs.
Willem just shared a link with us and I was checking it out.
Ooh, let's see.
If you can grab it from the chat, Claudia, and
Yeah,
or I can pop up there. It
I
looks like
can do it, no problem. Let's see. Chat. Do you have a list of vendors almost there? Huh? Oh, the demo's live still. Ah, this is awesome. Thank you, Willem. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go back here and share.
Thank you.
Share. And this time I'm just going to share the full screen. There we go. And now let's see if we can play it. There we go. This is, I remember from IBC, they were already showing this. This is all of the different manufacturers and their individual products working in an MXL native way with each other. So as you can see, these are streams from each of these different manufacturers all working together within an MXL node. So the diagram I showed you, this is the output of that and the result of that. So pretty cool, huh?
You happen to know the specs of the node that that's running on?
Do I know the specs? No, that I don't. I think, no, as a matter of fact, let me be clear. It was running on AWS. Now, what EC2 instance type that was running on, I don't have the specifics. I'm sure I could get it, but it was running on AWS on an EC2 instance.
Was that a single EC2 instance or was it?
Yes,
Yeah,
because that's an intra-node demonstration.
right.
I think the demo was running on 3 instances.
Oh gosh, thank you, Willem. I see I can be completely wrong. No. So they did it with
No, but it's right that you're confused a little bit because at this stage, the MXL was not publicly available to share the memory between the 3 nodes. So there was a little bit of pre-code already available and used to make sure that we could share the memory between the three nodes.
Ah, okay. So there were, I think I'm looking through the slides to see, I think I had something on that. Yeah, I don't know if I do have more explanation on what they did.
Maybe I'll look if I can find a diagram and if that's okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if it was internode within AWS, then it was using EFA,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Now, that's also the beauty of it. So MXL as such is reusing libfabric, which is something from the IT world. And this is a pure abstraction between whatever you use beneath. So it could be EFA, it could be a Rocky V2, or
Yeah.
even in future we could change to Ultra Ethernet without having to change the MXL code. So that's the beauty of using libfabric in between.
Yeah. The speed at which all of the manufacturing can innovate is something I have never seen. Jed, you had a question?
Yes, I do. Well, first, thanks for joining us tonight and presenting. Really appreciate that. Secondly, in your role as a system integrator, I imagine when you describe this to customers, whether it be DMF or maybe existing software-defined workflows, I expect the first reaction is, wow, this is awesome. Second reaction is probably, what's it going to cost me? So, and understanding that full DMF MXL systems aren't available yet, but there are substitutes. There's obviously GVAMP, Lava Home, similar kinds of systems. I just wonder if you had,
Box
based
origin.
on your experience, what's the multiplier for replacing that big rack with software-defined systems for cost?
I wish that the commercial conversation could be as simple as a simple formula, a multiplier. It's nowhere that simple. To be honest with you, for probably the last 2 years, I've been on panels just talking about the fact that when it comes to cloud software defined, we're there. Technology is there. We've proven it, reproven it, done all kinds of different events with it, worked with different customers to show that they're using it. The biggest challenge in that side, I think, still remains is the commercial aspect. Most of us have a hard time being able to fully put together and understand what is the commercial impact. How much is this going to cost me? Because you're not buying a standard set of abilities for a standard fixed price and you're doing consumption-based pricing, that question is never it's this much, like a piece of software or hardware is. It's always, it depends on how much you're going to use, how often you're going to use, if you're going to do commits for the compute, if you're going to do commits for some of the software that is sold on a consumption basis but has some kind of discounts for buying a certain amount of consumption, or in AMP would be tokens. So if you commit to that, it's probably what I spend the majority of my days on, is doing that part of it. I have a team of engineers who architect the solution, and I spent all the time putting together the financials, comparing it to doing a traditional build out, a hybrid build out, a mostly software defined build out. And based on each customer's needs and requirements, we've got to look at, and it's not just needs and requirements of compare 5 years of this to 5 years of that. It's not even that simple, because it's, do you have all of the money to do a huge capex up front? Or if you don't have that, you have the cash flow to do, a smaller amount of capex up front and then really leverage the OpEx, and the flexibility that brings you, that you can keep changing out systems as new things come out. So you're not stuck amortizing something for 7 years and it doesn't matter if something better comes along. And how much is that delta worth? Because it's not always cheaper. It actually is a premium sometimes, or most often, if you want to utilize something that means that every time, I always think of it as like, if you lease a car, right? You lease a car, you get in the car, and you 2 or 3 years, that is your car, and then you get a new one. A lot better than buying the car that you have for 20 years if you're into changing out and staying with the latest. But imagine if I told you you could get in a car that you're leasing, that every time you turn the key, it's a new, better car. And by the way, if you don't really love that one, the next time you turn the key, you could be in a totally different car. There's a bit of a premium for that flexibility, but it means that for all 7 years, 2 years, 3 years, 7 years, you're always in the newest, latest, and greatest. So it's a pretty cool value there as well.
Okay.
Plus, if you don't need it, you can also turn it off and then pay nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So would you say most customers that are looking at this would want to follow the OpEx model?
Usually it's hybrid. When you're building a facility, it rarely can you do. I have one customer that I could say was completely cloud. Outside of the contribution that came, it was chess.com. And outside of the contribution that came from venues and events, 100% of their workflow is in cloud. They don't own any facilities. They don't work in facilities. So their operators are on 6 different continents, all working on a production together. So yeah, that was all cloud. That's rare. Most customers are looking at, I have a facility, a physical facility with studios and such that I'm building, and where can I leverage software defined in cloud? And there's a lot of answers to that, but it is a hybrid environment.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Here's the slide that Willem followed up with.
Yes, this is awesome. There it is. I knew I have that slide somewhere, Willem. It is EFA between them. Yes, I should have remembered this. AMP was on its own. EC2, and then we had the other two with a Pierre Rito Matrox Sony TVU, and one with CBC, 3 Design, ROS Tag, and TechX. Thank you. That's awesome.
Bonnie, I can send that to you.
Oh, thanks.
I should put it into that presentation.
There you go. It's in chat, or I can send it to you.
Hey, my learning curve is like what I said about cloud, right? Every time you turn on the thing, there's something new. Every time that you get in that car, it's a new car. Well, the speed of, CI/CD pipeline and development, that's the speed of which we've got to try to keep up with all this information. Not a day goes by that I don't learn something new. And thank you, Willem. I learned one more cool new thing with you today. So it's fantastic. So we can keep having these discussions, guys, because I swear that a few months from now, it's all going to be even more new and exciting things to share with everybody.
Yeah, we're planning to have a bit of a demo on the EBU stand. So stay tuned for that. We'll have some DMF and some type of demo. Not
I
sure.
believe by IBC, we might see some cool things out there, Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that I know proprietary or secret, but with the rate of development that I'm seeing out there, I would be surprised if not by IBC, by next NAB, if we don't see more and more products out there. That's my hope. More MXL products.
Love it.
Well, Claudia, we'd love to have you back in 6 or 12 months to give us an update.
Absolutely. I hope that I'm back here and going, wow, do you remember how excited we were by that demo and by the one, Zoom ISO on AMP? And now look where we are today, right? And we can all laugh about, wow, we couldn't have predicted it.
Yeah, and if you have time to come on up in person, feel free. I know you're
I
busy.
would love to. I have not been to Grass Valley since I worked for Grass Valley. I was there with Chuck Myers.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And thank you, Willem. You've been such an amazing co-presenter, co-host, and really brought so much information to this. I can't thank you enough, especially at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, I'm just too curious to not follow this type of stuff. So thank you for doing it.
Hopefully I did it enough justice and didn't butcher it too badly for you.
No, I learn every time again and again. So thank you so much.
Jed is also part of the AMWA and contributing on this too, so I should also mention that as well. So we've got other representatives here. Thank you.
Really appreciate all of you. This is collaborative in every way, so it's less of a presentation and more of a discussion every time.
Hey, have a good evening. I'll call you later. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.